The night of December 5, 2025 settled over the township like a heavy blanket. Streetlights cast long, distorted shadows across the packed earth and corrugated iron walls. Sounds were muted, absorbed by the dense air of a warm summer evening. In this part of the world, west of the nation's capital, life hummed with a rhythm all its own, a rhythm of survival and community. The darkness here was not just an absence of light, it was a presence, a familiar companion that held both secrets and solace. This was a place of stark contrasts, where hope and despair lived side by side. South Africa, a country of breathtaking beauty and complex history, was grappling with a persistent shadow, one of the highest homicide rates in the world. Violence was a grim statistical reality, haunting headlines and whispered in quiet conversations. On this Friday night, people sought refuge from their labors, unaware that the ordinary passage of time was leading toward a moment of extraordinary violence. The stillness of the early evening was deceptive, a fragile peace about to be broken. Sometimes, that low hum of danger would crescendo into a roar, a brutal reminder of the fragility of peace. Inside the walls of a sprawling workers' hostel, a different kind of life unfolded. These buildings, relics of a segregated past, were now home to families and workers carving out an existence. Deep within one such hostel, a space had been transformed into an unlicensed bar, a she-bean. Here, camaraderie filled the air, laughter punctuating the low thrum of conversation. For those inside, this was more than just a room with drinks. It was a sanctuary from the struggles outside. The people gathered were a cross-section of the community. Men, women, old, young. Among them, a 16-year-old girl, a 12-year-old boy, and even a 3-year-old child, present in a world not meant for his eyes. Their presence spoke to the nature of these spaces, where the lines between public and private, adult and child, often blurred. As Friday bled into Saturday, the crowd thinned, but a dedicated group remained. The Shabean became an island in the quiet sea of the sleeping township. The patrons were not thinking about national crime statistics or lurking dangers. They were focused on the now, on the drink in their hand, on the friend beside them. They were simply people, living their lives, unaware they were gathered at the edge of a precipice. Their small circle of light was about to attract the most profound and terrifying darkness. The existence of this bar was an open secret, a common feature of township life. Authorities knew such places, she-beans, were everywhere, thriving in the gaps left by formal regulation. Police crackdowns were frequent, but for every she-bean closed, another sprang up. These bars provided a social hub where formal venues were scarce or too expensive, but their unregulated nature made them vulnerable. Security was lax, and the hostel's labyrinthine corridors made it easy for strangers to move unnoticed. The Shabean, hidden deep within, felt insulated from danger. Patrons believed in the safety of anonymity, a fatal miscalculation. On this night, the bar operated as usual, its patrons feeling secure among familiar faces. They had no idea that their haven was about to become a target. The clock ticked past 4 in the morning, the hour of ghosts, when the city holds its breath. Inside the Shabean, the energy had mellowed. Only a handful of patrons remained, heavy with fatigue and alcohol. The party was winding down. At 4:15 a.m., 3 figures appeared in the doorway. Men, strangers, faces obscured. There was no warning, no demand, just their silent, menacing arrival. The transition from peace to terror was instantaneous. Conversation died, a frozen moment of disbelief. The men raised their arms, firearms glinting in the dim light. They did not select targets. Their actions were cold, indiscriminate, terrifyingly random. They simply opened fire on the small group gathered for a drink. The sound was deafening. A percussive roar that tore through the room. The hour of ghosts had delivered its apparitions. The night turned into a nightmare. In seconds, the Shabean was transformed from sanctuary to slaughter. The violence was as sudden as it was senseless. The first volley of shots was a brutal intrusion, echoing in the confined space. There was no time to react, no time to comprehend. Panic erupted. People scrambled for cover, diving under tables or pressing against walls. The shooting was relentless, methodical, and without hesitation. It was not a robbery or a fight, it was a slaughter. Bullets ripped through air, furniture, flesh and bone. Cries of pain and terror replaced music and laughter. The most vulnerable had no chance. The 3 children were caught in the same storm as the adults. Their presence became the most heartbreaking detail of the tragedy. And then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The gunmen melted back into the dark corridors, disappearing into silence. They left behind a scene of utter devastation. In minutes, a place of community had become a tomb. For nearly 2 hours, the horror remained contained within the hostile walls. The first call to police came at 6 in the morning. Survivors, some grievously wounded, grappled with the carnage in shock and confusion. When help arrived, the scene was grim. 10 people dead sprawled on the Verwaarstopper live dein Cypher ein die Babs ended in an instant. The air was heavy with the metallic scent of blood. 13 people survived the initial onslaught, left with serious injuries. Emergency services worked desperately to save them. 2 more would later die in hospital, bringing the death toll to 12. The community, just waking to the news, had to absorb another blow. Each death was not just a number, but a person, a son, a daughter, a friend. The echoes of loss were just beginning to ripple outward. As the sun rose, its light cast a harsh glare on the scene. The hostel was now a crime scene, cordoned off by yellow police tape. Neighbors gathered in hushed groups, faces a mixture of shock, fear, and grief. Forensic teams moved methodically, documenting every bullet casing and bloodstain. The investigation began immediately, police searching for 3 male suspects, but with little to go on. The gunmen had vanished like phantoms, their motive a mystery. Was it a gang dispute, a robbery, retaliation? No clear answers. The randomness was the most chilling aspect. The news spread quickly, amplified by media reports. It was yet another mass shooting in a country tragically accustomed to them. The incident echoed a previous massacre, reopening old wounds. It highlighted the crisis of gun violence and the deadly problem of illegal taverns. For South Africans, it was a painful reminder of violence simmering beneath the surface. The shooting was not an isolated event, but a symptom of a deeper national crisis. South Africa's struggle with violence is a painful part of its modern identity. Firearms, many illegal, flood the country, fueling a pervasive sense of insecurity. The context of the unlicensed shebeen is critical, born of poverty, unemployment, and a lack of safe spaces. Their illegal status makes them vulnerable, easy targets for criminals. This tragedy forces difficult conversations about policing, gun control, and social inequality. The 12 lives lost were not just statistics, they were the human cost of unresolved issues. Their deaths are a somber testament to the urgent need for solutions. As of December 9th, the community is left to mourn. The yellow tape is gone, but the emotional barriers remain. The grief is raw and personal. The empty spaces left by the 12 victims are felt acutely. Survivors begin their long journey to recovery, haunted by memories of that night. The investigation continues, but the central question remains: why? The gunmen are still at large, their motive unknown. The randomness of the act erodes any sense of safety. The story of that night is one of profound and tragic loss. A small community shattered by inexplicable brutality. The names of the victims may fade from headlines, but the impact endures. The unanswered question of why lingers, a ghostly echo in the silence left behind.